Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Davis's journey to financial freedom. There's so much going on. It seems like it's just never ending, huh? I know. This is not good, folks. This is not good. As many of you guys probably are aware, the U.S. has reached the debt ceiling limit, and we're in a lot of trouble, and it seems like the crash is inevitable. I think my husband and I, we were talking about this the other day, and he was asking me, is there anything that can be done to turn things around? And unfortunately, there kind of isn't. We kind of lost our window of opportunity back in 2007, 2008, before those first set of bailouts. That was our time to um, have any meaningful abilities to turn the ship, to right the ship, so to speak. And so, as we speak right now, our Secretary Janet Yellen, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she announced to Congress that she's got to take extraordinary measures to be able to pay all of our bills. So, but let's just listen to this clip real quick so that you guys can hear for yourself what is going on.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen writing in a letter to Congress that has officially hit our $31 trillion debt limit, and that her department would have to begin employing, quote, extraordinary measures to meet the federal government's financial obligations. Yahoo Finance senior columnist Rick Newman ain't buying it. Rick, you generally speaking are not. It seems like Janet Yellen is taking this very seriously, as is Jamie Dimon. We'll get into that later. You think this is mainly political theater? Now, just given that.
Now, the reason why he's saying that, and I'm gonna start the video back up so you can hear it from him. But basically, we've been here before. This has happened, several times in recent years, where there's kind of been this standoff between, the Democrats and the Republicans on raising the debt ceiling, because it's basically an arbitrary number that Congress has put on itself to try to hone in the spending. And so, because the U.S. is the world's reserve currency, which we're going to talk about that here in a second, they've had the ability to just continuously raise the limit. It's basically like as if you had a credit card and you had the black card that has no limit on there, and so you basically, and say you just made up an arbitrary limit number in your head of, let's say you said that you're not going to let your black card limit go over, let's say 10,000, for instance. But then at the end of the year, you look at everything that you have to pay, and it's exceeding what your limit is, up to 10,000. So now you either have to cut some of the things that you have promised to pay, and or raise your limit and take your limit from 10,000 to 15,000, for example. That's basically what Congress, where they're at. So they've set this arbitrary number, and the amount of spending that they've already obligated to, such as like things like military defense, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, just various different programs that the government funds that they've already committed the money to. Okay. But let's hear it from why he's saying that, it's just political theater.
Dynamic. Given what we saw in the House GOP leadership fight, how can you confidently say that?
It's always political theater. Every single time, and it's always the Republicans who go down this road. It's always the Democrats who say, we're going to get out of your way, and we're going to let you guys threaten a debt ceiling standoff, threaten a default, because it really doesn't work out politically for Republicans. But here's a simple way to know. Look, both the Democrats have approved too much spending, and the Republicans have approved too many tax cuts for the last, how far back do you want to go? 20 years, 30 years? Really, let's go back 20. And that's why we have, deficits that are just going to continue to go up as far as the eye can see. And also we can get away with it. So this is a big problem for Janet Yellen because she has to solve the problem. She has to manage the money and move money around, shuffle money around so that the Treasury can pay the bills. And this could get ugly before it gets resolved. But it's going to go on and on until the very last second, which is probably going to come around early June.
So, Rick, you mentioned it could get pretty ugly. I guess how ugly could that get? What could the next couple of months look like until we hopefully do get it?
2011 is a template for how ugly it could get. And in 2011, it literally went down to hours before the Treasury Department would be unable to pay some of the bills. And what happened in that period of time? The S&P 500 fell by 17% over the course of a month as we were going through that ordeal. The Standard & Poor's downgraded the U.S. credit rating by one notch. It's still at that lower level. And the stock market did not come back for 6 months. So that's a baseline for how bad it could be this year.
Jamie Dimon said we should never question the creditworthiness of U.S. government. That is sacrosanct. This is not something we should be playing games with at all this morning. Would you like him to just say, ignore the noise?
No, you know what I'd like him to do? I'd like him to put his money where his mouth is and say, we're going to look at all the Republicans we spend money on, we give campaign finance contributions to, and tell every single one of them, get this done, get this done, get this over with. And by the way, it's not Jamie Dimon. It's virtually every business leader thinks this is ridiculous. No business gets to say, oh, we're going to threaten not to pay our bills and see what happens. If you do that, your credit rating goes down the tubes. Nobody wants to loan you money and you can't do business. So anybody who runs a business thinks this is completely ridiculous, and it really is. If you want to address the deficit, do it in other ways.
Let's now shift our attention to the United States of America, where the United States has.
So basically, as you guys heard, that a lot of this, I do agree with him in the sense of a lot of it is political theater. However, at the same time, somebody needs to take a stand. And it always seems to be when it comes to trying to rein in the deficit, it typically seems to be the Republicans more so than anything that try to take a stand. But then there's so many of them that are in cahoots because their pockets are getting lined. It's just like, a lot of Democrats. The thing about it is that he had mentioned that, they always do this because we can. Well, the time is winding down of the U.S.'s ability to continue to do this. Countries are now starting to seek and go back to some sort of gold standard and away from the U.S. dollar or what we call the petrodollar after Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971 and then made the agreement with the OPEC oil-producing countries over in the Middle East. And it became known as the petrodollar. And everybody, has been using the U.S. dollar since World War II as the world's reserve currency. And so, but we have our leaders have abused that privilege with all of the excessive money currency printing, because fiat currency is not real money. Real money is actually precious metals that has stood the test of time, like gold and silver. And that is why a lot of countries now are starting to, walk away from the US dollar. In the past, when countries have tried to do that, it has ended catastrophically for them because the US government typically does everything in its power to crush any opposition or any type of pushback on the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. And so I'm a little concerned for a country like Ghana, who actually is one of the largest miners of gold. They have a ton of gold in Ghana, and they just recently purchased oil in exchange for with some of their gold reserves. And I'm going to play a little video real quick so that you guys can hear that for yourself. And let's see here. Let me get that video up. Let's see. Okay.
Last year, we told you that the Central Bank of Ghana, which is also known as the Bank of Ghana, is now focusing on the purchasing of more gold from gold mining companies in the country to change the country's reserve from the US dollar to gold.
The Bank of Ghana will soon start purchasing gold from the local market to help shore up its reserves. The move has been described as historic as it marks the first time the central bank is embarking on domestic gold purchasing.
This event is indeed historic as it marks the first time the Bank of Ghana is embarking on the domestic gold purchasing to augment our foreign reserves, with a view to doubling our gold holdings in our foreign exchange reserves portfolio.
A few months after that report, this man, known as Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, who is the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, announced a new barter agreement that has been introduced by the government of Ghana called the Gold for Oil Initiative. And this simply means that the country is now going to trade their reserve gold for oil instead of buying them with reserve currencies like the US dollar or the European euro. And according to Dr. Bawumia, this will help to keep the prices of petroleum products in the country low and also stabilize their cedi currency. So let's hear that from Dr. Bawumia himself.
We have to look for fundamental solutions to some of our problems.
You see, by them doing that, it's definitely the smart move to make. It is going to help them stabilize their local currency, which is their currency is called the cedi. And since we've been printing all this money here in the US and then exporting basically our inflation, although we've been experiencing inflation too, because those dollars are coming back to us, because countries are starting to dump the US dollar. Well, some countries have been doing it for quite a while, for over a decade now, and beefing up their gold reserves, like China and Russia and Venezuela, just to name a few. But then you've got, some other countries now that are starting to do the same thing, Ghana being one of them. And I'm excited for them because it's going to be a huge game changer for them. But at the same time, I'm kind of concerned as well, because once the U.S. starts to really pay attention, if they still want to try to keep the U.S. dollar in play as the world's reserve currency, which I believe that they do at least for a little while longer, until they get all of their ducks in a row to fully implement the New World Order. And then they're going to be going completely digital, which that's a whole nother video. But I don't think that they're ready quite yet to completely do away with the US dollar. And so in the past, they've always taken, when a country tries to go off with the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, the US has typically, and the West has always typically looked at that and taken that as an act of war. And that's what really kind of concerns me. But if things are just so crazy, it's, we just don't know how the things are going to play out. I do know that one of the things that we're looking at doing, as far as my household is concerned, is looking at seeing how we can plan and make a transition to relocate, to the continent. We were looking at Belize, and we still have land over there and everything, and we'll probably still end up building a summer home on the land, or a couple of little cottages, to be able to do vacation rentals on the land over there in Belize. But also seriously looking at purchasing land and building a house over in Ghana, most likely. But we also may consider a couple of other countries over there as well. So yeah, I mean, this is awesome for Ghana. It's going to help stabilize their CD, the Ghana CD, and make allow them to tap into their natural resources, which they have a ton over there. But at the same time, I feel like it also could make them a target, because in the past, like I said, the US has viewed anytime when a country tries to buy, especially oil, in particular, for with anything but the US dollar, it's been looked at as a sign of aggression, and it has not ended well for any country that has tried it. So I am a little worried and concerned about that aspect of it. But anyways, so that's, yeah, let me know what you guys think about all of that. Does this concern you? The debt limit being reached, the amount of debt that the US has. What are you guys' thoughts about that? Let me know. Post in the comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. The more the video is shared and people watch, the sooner and the quicker we can get to the 4,000 watch time hours. So basically, this video, I believe it's going to be about 20 minutes long. So if at least 420 people or something like that watch it all the way through, we could hit the watch time hours within a matter of days or weeks. Okay, so thanks a lot, everybody, and we'll be back at you with another updated video on current events and how it can impact you, or might impact you in your financial future. All right, take care.